champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man,
MH.
Yes, he is the DB of the show. We are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the people, to the culture that won't shut up and jumble, interviewing the best people in the game and in the boardroom, laughing at all, covering all while providing the platform to be heard. So, you know what we do around this time, and we got to welcome our guests. And so, you know, we have someone here who's going to level up your skills, all right? So you can not only get in the game, but you can take the game and own the game, all right? He's a 10-year industry vet, 6 different leagues, right? So we're talking about all those pro leagues, right? 2 championships. This Morehouse man is looking to be the NASA of sports, all right? So what we mean by that? Well, NASA makes the seemingly impossible possible. So please, Harlem, stand up and clap it up for the CEO and president of Givin Game, Clifford, CjSimmons. Let's go.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, fellas. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, hey, how we always start the show is, man, with a shoot your shot moment. So this is where you could have won or you could have learned a lesson, but we like a specific shoot your shot moment. Now, you can tell me that you always shoot your shot, but we need a specific time where, like I said, you want to learn the lesson. It could have been back in the days. It could have been as recently yesterday, or, you know, how you lock down the misses, man. But please give us a shoot your shot moment.
Yeah, that's a story. That's a good one. That's a good story to tell. But the one I'm gonna try to tell is one that you were involved with, EJ, and this happened this year. We were all in Indy for the NBA All-Star game, and I was there in a sports business executive accelerator program put on by BSP and Rise. So I was in that cohort. This was the first year that they did it. And it was just cool being around a cohort, and we were having great conversations, like after a lot of our sessions. And on the Saturday for All-Star Saturday night, some of the people in the cohort were just kind of like, I'm going to All-Star Saturday night. I'm just going. And they're like, people were putting out their desires, wants into the world. And 2 of the members in our cohort ended up just walking over there to the stadium and talking to different people and got in. And it was just like, oh, wow. Like, it just, you're manifesting what you want, putting yourself in the right situation, and it happened. And so I was kind of upset that I didn't go because I just couldn't make that happen. But the next day for the All-Star game, there was a happy hour and we were all there. And this was a scene happy hour. So seeing a lot of the people there, it was just good, kind of connecting with people. But even before that, all day, I was just saying, I want to go to the All-Star game. I'm trying to find tickets to the All-Star game. I'm telling everybody, I'm putting it out there into the world. And it just didn't happen. And as we're figuring out how to get back and what we're going to do for the All-Star game, we decided, hey, let's just go back, go to a hotel, go to a lobby bar. We'll just all be together. It was 5 of us. And I had a car because I stayed where we stayed at as the cohort. We were pretty far. And so I drove EJ and a few other people back. And I'm parking like right near, well, actually, it was close to parking, but right near where the hotel we were going to watch it at. And there was a person who was in the car, and she mentioned, hey, someone just gave me 2 tickets. And I'm like, what? And EJ and someone else were like, we out, we not going to leave one or the other. And then the other person in the car, Jared, our man, he was like, I don't really want to go. I'm kind of good. And so even with that, it was 4 other people who could have wanted it. Everybody else backed out, and it still came to me. And that was just the manifestation. But then, like, just God opening doors for it to happen for me. And come to find out, these seats were like row 10 from half court. It was like crazy. And
they used them there in the layup line, man.
Right. It was just me putting it out there. And I think with that, like that was me shooting my shot and putting into my dreams and desires out there in the world. And then the world just manifesting it and making it happen for me. So that's how I went to the All-Star game for free and at the last minute. But it was a good time.
Showing up is half the battle, right? Being present.
Oh,
Indeed.
sir. Yes, sir. So, CJ, where'd your love for sports start?
Growing up, I think just being from New York, being from Harlem, New York basketball is huge. It's a basketball town. Grew up a big time Knicks fan. Knicks were, Patrick Ewing. That was just the era of greatness. Knicks are back now. That's a whole nother conversation. But look, Knicks are back, man. But I think it started there, just like my dad being a big Knicks fan, New York being a basketball city, and then just playing. Like I had the little basketball hoop in the house, playing in the house, and then going outside, shooting in the trash can, then being able to shoot on the bigger courts, and like everything from there was just I was a big basketball fan, and then other sports grew along with that. I mean, Yankees had their run in the 90s. I mean, even really wasn't a hockey fan, but the Rangers had their run. Giants had, 1990. So there were a lot of good New York sports back then, but basketball was my first love.
So we're gonna get into why the Knicks is back. I'm a Knicks fan as well.
Yeah. So when I was doing my research, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
We need to drop because I think there's a show, a couple episodes where he says the Knicks are back. I don't know if they're quite back, but you go ahead, MH.
I think speaking of manifesting, I've been saying this on the show for a couple of years that 2025 is the year that they're going to win a championship.
Okay. Well,
you have been saying that, so.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm very confident in the Knicks. Like,
very.
Yeah.
Now, did you say the Giants had the 90, or you said they had the 90s?
1990.
Oh, okay.
Because now he's going to clash with you because he's a Cowboys fan. So, like, that's.
No, yeah. Cowboys had the 90s, but 1990 Giants.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we was all cool. So it's always New York sports, basketball first love. They say New York, you guys got a lot of guards. I don't know how many of y'all can shoot. So, give me a scouting report on your basketball game.
Yeah, so I was a point guard / shooting guard, but I love playing point guard better. Handle was good.
That's New York handle.
I was definitely a good facilitator of assists and getting the team involved. Shooting was good as well, but I think definitely my free throws were like on point. That was like what I really prided myself in, getting to the rim, getting fouled, getting to the free throw line. And then even in college at Morehouse, like I won like the free throw shooting competition. Like there was like an intramural free throw shooting. I got like a trophy somewhere downstairs. So yeah, but like I think for me it was just getting the team involved. But I played point guard, and I love like the facilitating, dishing, and scoring when I need to. But I was more facilitator.
So we talking like Mark Jackson. We talking.
Yeah, you know who I love? My favorite player is Stephon Marbury. That's who I try to idolize my game after. Like he was my favorite player, and he scores, but he gets to the hoop strong, and like but he'll dish it out when he needs to. So that's my man right there.
So did you have a pair of Starberries, man?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That was the first throwback jersey I got too. Like Stephon Marbury. Like yeah, that's my man right there.
So definitely want to get into right, because basketball is almost a religion in New York, right? So, and when you think of that, like the universities, the schools, just the players that have come out of the New York scene. But talk about Rucker Park, man. Like, how was that? Did you ever like go down to any of the competitions, or do you have any stories like a Rucker Park kind of story?
I don't have any Rucker Park stories. I just know that at times things would get a little wild out there. Times that I've passed the area when things were going on, like there was a lot of I think growing up in New York, it's a scene where everyone's outside, everyone's on the street, and everything that you want, or you kind of got to go for it and go after it. So that was like it was like a party scene pretty much. And when you want to pick up women and introduce yourself and how you go about that, the pen and paper back then, Like it was a scene. Never got inside. I mean, it's ridiculous, getting inside, but I've been around there. But there's just the history of it, and all the basketball that's come through there. My dad has pictures of him being out there, and like, when Kareem would come play, and like people in the trees and people on top of the school,
on the fences and the bridges. Like I've seen like different kind of docks, man. It's just crazy that place, which is a park, holds that type of stuff. Like where you said, like, man, it was hard to like get in, right? Or you had to be careful, when you would go there. But that's just amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. But when you go there when nothing is happening, you're like, this is the park. Like it just looks regular, But the history and what it means is so important to basketball culture, but also the New York City history is amazing.
And I didn't know who the park was named after. It was like the whole reason like that tradition is really, where it was, where it just seems like New York was always kind of built on building communities up, right? And so was it Holcomb? Was that his name? Because I wrote it down somewhere. I can't find it. Well, Holcomb Rucker Park, and he had the each one teach one, which is really like the foundation, like the bringing Rucker Park, and for it to like have the certain movement it's had, it's definitely been special.
Indeed.
All right, man. So growing up, in that, how competitive were you like in the household with the sports, right? Because you have a older brother, right, and a younger sister, or are they both? Yeah. So
sister.
How competitive was it in the household? You know what I mean, as far as sports, even education, because I know that's the next round we're going to get into. How was that growing up, especially in New York, right?
So my brother and I was always competitive with my brother. So he would beat me in video games and just beat me up and then beat me up, then beat me on the basketball court growing up. Like I always had the drive to beat him and to be better than him. And I think overall, like he wanted me to be better than him, but he wanted me to be tough in order to navigate just the world and everything that it comes with. But my dad too. My dad would beat us in basketball and this and that. And my dad was a ball player, and he'd play us one-on-one, but he wouldn't let us win. And but eventually, but my brother was my main competition, because by the time I got older, my dad was a bit older. It wasn't the same. But my brother, he was, that's the guy that I always. And when I first beat him in NBA Live, it was like, it was like I won the championship. The Knicks won the championship. That's what it was like, beating him in that, because he would always beat me. And then it was like everything else. And so in sports, I didn't beat him. I think I was in high school when I beat him in basketball. My little sister was out there taking notes. I wish she still had the notes. Like I made him fall. Like it was like crazy. It was a cold day too. I remember that day. And so like that was like, beating him was a big thing. But again, the accomplishments of it all, and like schooling and everything that you mentioned, my brother ended up going to Morehouse. And so that's what made me interested in Morehouse. Our pastor went to Morehouse, and then knowing about MLK and such, Spike Lee, all of the other people that went to Morehouse. But my brother going there definitely made it a thing of interest for me. So when he went to Morehouse, like he was just highly decorated of going. And what my parents were saying is like, you need to get a scholarship in order if you want to go. So he got a full scholarship from NASA to go to Morehouse. And that sort of laid the foundation for me, because I'm like, all right, that's what I need to go. That's what I need to achieve. And so I also ended up getting a NASA scholarship to go to Morehouse, and then additional scholarships as well. Like I was a Jackie Robinson Foundation scholar. And how that came about was my brother saying, hey, they got this scholarship. They fly people back to New York during spring break. I loved seeing that. I would love to come home. This is something that you should be interested in. It's about sports. And it wasn't really a thing of sports necessarily, but like I love sports. But just the history of Jackie Robinson and who he is to our culture obviously is important. So I ended up getting that scholarship, a Chase scholarship, a McDonald scholarship. Like I had like a number of different scholarships. So I was more decorated, I guess, going into Morehouse than he was. But at the end, he laid the path. He laid the path, and then also helped cultivate the path as I was going through by offering different scholarships and making calls and outreach and things like that. So while it was competition, it was still like, you know, we're succeeding together and we're going to the same school. And he ended up going to NYU for grad school to get his MBA, and I ended up going to NYU for grad school for sports business. So we followed along. I followed his path, you know, pretty closely.
Now, were there other universities or colleges that interest you at the time, or it was kind of like, you know, this is the path that, you know, I want to go on?
I mean, I applied to a lot of HBCUs, like, you know, when visiting. I went to Howard. I applied to Howard and got in. I applied to Hampton and got in. The only non-HBCU I was interested in, I think, was Temple. Like, I went to visit it, and it felt like an HBCU going there compared to the other PWIs. I was like, oh, this is okay. This is kind of cool. And the facilities were better than the HBCUs. So that had a big interest of mine.
Your sister ended up going to Temple too, right?
My sister ended up going to Temple, yep. And so, but I really liked Temple. But Morehouse was always number one, high above everywhere else. And then just the culture of Atlanta at that time, right? We're thinking 2002, going like applying to schools and then actually attending in 2003. I mean, Drumline, I think, came out in 2002 or 2003. I mean, the All-Star Game was here in 2003. Hip hop, Little John, all of the music, like Atlanta was that up and coming vibe at that time. And so,
and that document on Netflix that's out right now is going on around that time too.
A little before that, but yeah, a little before that, but yes, it was. But you know, like, and then not to just mention, like, you know, I went to Morehouse and Spelman's right across the street. Clark Atlanta is there, and then, you know, not long after that, Stomp the Yard came out. Like, all of these things are like, it was that time. There were many times to be involved. Obviously, you have school days and such, but that was a time of just Atlanta and culture to be there. So I was just super interested to get to Atlanta and happy to be back here again.
Nice. Now, where did the marathon running come into play, man? Like, how did you get into like wanting to run marathon? That's not something you just wake up and say you want to do, or something you can just wake up and do, unless you're my cousin, Mr. International, who just ran a 5K.
Okay. Yeah.
Just jumped out of bed. But like, where did that passion come from, and do you still do those?
This could be a whole conversation, so I'm gonna break it down to be a lot shorter. There was a point in my my life that I was just unhappy with myself and just things that were going on, and I did at this time was what I called the red shirt challenge, where I thought about wearing it today, but there was a shirt that was like my favorite shirt, like button-up shirt. It was like favorite casual shirt, and I posted a picture on New Year's of myself wearing the shirt in the past, and then how I looked on New Year's. And basically, and I couldn't fit it. I had like a button or two like button. And I was like, everybody likes to show their highlights of their lives, but I'm going to show you a point that's not a highlight and something that's like embarrassing, really. And I can't fit this shirt. I haven't been able to fit this shirt in years. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to get back into it. So each month, I like sent the picture of like what the update was with the shirt. And then after a couple of months, I was able to wear the shirt. And that was like me completing the red shirt challenge. What became of that was a challenge I'm still on, still to this day, which was a sub 2 challenge, which was at first being under 200 pounds. And so as of doing that, it was like running was always just difficult to me. And so I just started like, I'm like, I always get results when I run. So I probably need to run to get the results that I want. Now, completing this red shirt challenge, I could take my fitness to another level and keep challenging myself. So it was first, can I do 3 miles? Can I do a 5K? Okay. Then can I do 5 miles? At the time, my job was 7 miles away. Like, can I run to work? Like, that's kind of interesting. Then took that. And then my sister, I think she ran a half. And I was like, and my sister is not, she didn't play sports or anything like that. She's not like my brother and I. And so when she did it, I'm like, wait, you did it? Like, it almost was like, all right, if she could do it, like I could definitely do it. And again, it's not competition usually with my sister and I, but it's the support. And she always was very supportive. And I saw that she was able to do it. I'm like, you know what? I should be able to do this. And so that became a half marathon. And similarly, kind of going back off the first conversation, my brother did a marathon in 2018, was his first marathon. And so he was the one that got to that next level. He was also getting getting older, focusing on his fitness. And my sister and I were doing the same. And so in 2019, we all ran a New York City Marathon together. So that was my sister and I's first marathon. So I do still run. I haven't done long races in a long time. 5Ks are where I'm at currently, but I would like to get back into the half marathon area. Like, I just love the running, and I love challenging myself physically. Especially as we get older, we need to focus more on our health, and that's really in a phase that I'm at right now. So,
yeah, you talk about that, and EJ was talking about the marathon run, and I had a question with it, but I heard it does. It's like we always talk about mental health and taking care of yourself mentally, and I've heard from those that do run that is kind of clarity, and they say smart people run a lot. Did it help mentally as well for you, the marathon running? How did that work for you?
It helped mentally because no one's forcing you to do it, and you're getting up every day to go run. The maximum of marathon training was something like this: Monday, 5 miles; Tuesday, 6 miles; Thursday, 5 miles; Saturday, long run. And long run would be 10, then like 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, like long runs. And so, but the long runs were different. Like, you're trained, you're just waking up doing it. Like, that's a different thought. But the harder part was like on a Monday. Like, I got to run this and then go to work. So I would run, like, work was 7 miles. I would run 5 miles and then have to take the train the other 2, or 6 miles, take the train the other 1. And I was living in DC at the time. And like, it just was the preparation of it all. Like, I had to bring clothes to work, leave them there, picked up the clothes, then like connected to the office. I was working at Capital One Arena with the Wizards and Caps at the time. So they had a gym connected. So go in the office, get the clothes, go to the gym, shower, change, go to work, and like start the day. So it was like, it really had to be on top of everything, be prepared. But also, it's just a level of discipline that is required, that like, if you could attain and do that level of discipline when no one is forcing you to do it, no one's requiring you to do it. The days that you don't want to run, you got to do it. I mean, for me, I get scared of long races. So like, I don't ever want to be at a race and feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Like, I want to feel like as prepared as possible. So I feel like I need to put in the work. But the thing as well is, when you face other challenges that could be difficult in life, you then go to look back and use this in your toolbox. And David Goggins talks about toolbox all the time. It's like, hey, this is something that I've done and I've accomplished. Like, if I could accomplish this, then I can accomplish XYZ that I'm faced with as a challenge. And a lot of that is putting yourself in a place of discipline and consistency. And that is what it did for me mentally, not to mention just how you feel physically, how you look, and how you move. That builds your confidence as well. But like, doing something that only, I think it's like less than 1% of the world's population have run a marathon, like being in that elite of elite is really something. And so it was big for my mental health, but overall health, it was as well.
And dope you mentioned David, because he's a runner, right? Like, I mean, he's a Marine, but like now, like, you see a lot of his motivational things and stuff he does on social media. He's running while he's telling you to get your shit together.
Sure.
All right, man. So we're going to jump into the game now. So in the game, we talk about just kind of your career and how we want to approach this, man. Like, in the opening, man, we said 6 different leagues, man, in the major leagues, right, which is just kind of big. And with that, man, it has to give so many different experiences, because people that don't work in sports may not understand that not only what you do in each league and how they operate and the nuances is different, it's even different by each team that you work for in that league. You know what I mean? So just tell me, I guess, what was one of the challenges moving from league to league, and just like, especially if you're doing a similar role, right? Like, because let's say, sponsorships or, game day, whatever you're doing, give us kind of like that change between one league and team versus another.
Well, to start on the surface level, the first two internships I had were with the New York Mets and then with Madison Square Garden Company. So you're looking at an organization that only manages one team. That's all they're worried about. And that team plays baseball, obviously, MLB. They're in an outdoor stadium. And so elements of weather are taken into consideration. Things that you might have planned as far as activations have to be moved or rescheduled. Games get postponed. Like there were just a lot of other factors taken into consideration. But with that, it offers great things to me as far as fan experience. You can like cook burgers, off on the grill outside. You have fireworks that could happen like, after a game. Like it was cool in those regards when the weather was great, but you got to deal with those hot days and wearing suits outside, and it's just different. Then going to MSG, it's like, okay, this is the world's most famous arena. We're inside a multi-use facility. We had at the time the circus, and you have the Knicks, the Rangers, the Liberty at that time when they were still under that umbrella, and concerts like like Billy Joel was doing his tour, so it's like, or his residency rather. So all of those things were very different, just in the shape of the sport and the shape of the building and what was offered. Now, I think, mentioning one focus on a team and a focus on an entire conglomerate as MSG is like also different. MSG and you guys, Vegas, has a sphere out there now. And I mean, that's many years after I was at MSG, but that's another property. They have Radio City under their belt. They have the Beacon Theater. They have, a number, Chicago Theater, I think, is under their belt too. Like they have a lot of different entertainment. There's an entertainment facet part of MSG as well. And so with sponsorship, as we were trying to get done things at the Mets, truthfully, like there wasn't a lot of red tape. Like it just felt like you could try different things, do it, come up with different ideas, and things would happen. At MSG, it was you got to get the lawyers involved. They got to get approval by this person, that person. It was very different. But you see how things are run at a larger organization like that.
Gotcha.
And so that's just an example of going from one to the other, of understanding just how you could get ideas across the table was very different. But not to mention how things are sold and pitched and bundled. All of those things are deeper, but that's just a surface level idea of the differences.
Yeah, and really quick before MH jumps in, I had a friend that I worked with, and his team was the Chicago Bears, and then he went to work for the Chicago Bears, and all his dreams were kind of dashed. Like kind of like where they say, watch out for meeting your heroes, or however that kind of goes.
Yeah.
I wasn't being such a New York fan, right, of all of your teams to work for that organization, because everybody's experience is not the same, right? So was there some kind of see the puppet master, look behind the curtain, and have like all moments, or was it just exciting the whole time, right? Because you actually got to contribute and be a part of teams you grew up on.
I think a little bit of it all, right? Like there were areas that I was like not as enthusiastic about, and being at different organizations and seeing it and like kind of wondering, wow, like this isn't as great as I thought it would be, and I'm a big fan of this team or that team. But also, and there would be other areas that I would go to that I'd be surprised, like, oh wow, we get a chance to do this. This is an opportunity that comes. I remember being at the Yankees and like just their Christmas items that they were giving out. Like they were giving out like 60-inch TVs, and like it was like crazy stuff that they gave out for like they were giving out. I can't, don't quote me on like season tickets, but it was the stuff that they were giving were crazy for Christmas items. And that was just like, wow, this is just amazing. And so just there were different touch points throughout where I had areas of interest from the team side or whatever. And then getting in there and seeing like it may not be the culture that I enjoy the most, but there were other areas that it gave me learnings. It gave me opportunities to grow. And it just gave me a lot of it just gave me a lot of knowledge to be a better professional, I think. And that was the biggest takeaway, is like being a better professional, being able to move from there to another organization, but also taking those learnings and being just a more well-rounded individual in sports is like what I've tried to accomplish and what I've tried to do. And so it doesn't always come down to, I like this organization, I'm going to work there and I'm going to enjoy it too. Like every organization, and this is probably for the more the Givin game, but the thing I would say about organizations are, you just don't know who's at the organization at that time, right? And it may not be the organization's fault. It could just be your manager. It could just be your hierarchy within your silo division, right? It could be your coworker who sits next to you. Like there might be things that might not be as great because of the people, but that doesn't mean the organization isn't great, or vice versa. The organization may not be as great, and then but you could have great people as individuals who are sitting next to you, who are your manager, who are advocates for you. So you just never know until you get there. There are areas to help, which, more a Givin game part. But I think looking for culture, I didn't know about at that time. I just was like, I want to work here. I want it on my resume. This is my team. This is this and that. And I was very green, and I learned, but in each step, I feel like I've tried to be the best professional that I could be, and I've learned a lot at these organizations.
Yeah, and I guess speaking on like the Mets and the Yankees, and as partnerships continue to grow in sports, and from that lens, I never really had the experience of being in a market where it's, two baseball teams, two football teams, whatever you want to call New Jersey Nets and the Knicks. Like, it's just a lot going on in that area. So seeing that you kind of really both sides of the coin, particularly with baseball, what is the competition like from a partnerships and business wise, versus what we can kind of see on the field too?
Competition as far as being on the like a front office?
Yeah, like, you're sharing. I don't know if you have the same partners or you're going out of the same organizations type things like that, but how's that competition?
It is how it is on the outside. I mean, at the Yankees, it was seen as we are the Yankees. Like it just was. And I mean, what we're able to charge, what we're able to offer is there was a premium because of the organization. And the organization held themselves to a very high standard because of that. And it permeated all the way through. Like that was not, you were looked at as an employee that was, you are elite, you're here, you're with the Yankees, we are the Yankees, we are elite. And how we sold deals and how we got deals and the money we got was premium. Now at the Mets, might not be exactly the same. I mean, the performance on the field also didn't have it. The history is different as far as success. But the Mets offer just a little bit different, right? Like, they were, to me, like I looked at the Yankees and MSG as more business type of people, like that come, like they're more buttoned up type of people. Whereas the Mets are more, I feel like, more family oriented, more like your casual type of person. You go to a Knicks game and you look at everybody in the lower bowl. Like, I mean, there's people with suits on, they're coming from work, hedge funds, and like it's just different, and that's fine. It's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way that their fan, not all of their fans, but like the people that are at the games are. But Mets is definitely more as a family type of environment that I felt like more. It just had a different type of feel than it did at Yankee Stadium. But from everything, from how it was with the food, how it was with the vendors, how it was with all around, and so you use that and you capture that as you go out and sell too. Like I think. Like that's important. But what the Mets can do, and as a competitive edge, is, hey, look, we're also in the same market as the Yankees. You might not be paying as much, but you could get more by whether that's social media posts or this or that. But you're still here in New York. I mean, then there's different things of boroughs, things like that. The City Field is right next to the airport, so they had like Delta on top of the stadium. So as planes come in, like you can see the Delta logo. Like people aren't, you're not really flying over and seeing like above Yankee Stadium like that when you fly in. So, but you will fly really close to City Field. So different things like that, proximity of the stadium to an airport or this or that is important too. So I didn't feel like as much competitive edge just because of history for each team, but each team did offer something different that I think for a partner they could look at and value as well.
So in your role and just being in these major cities, right? Like DC, you've been in, you were saying about the Warriors for an internship. New York, of course, is like one of the big markets. Even Atlanta, as you were talking about the time era you were and where it's going to be right now, like it's an entertainment mecca and the stars come out. What was one of the coolest stars that you met during your time at any one of these jobs?
Man, that's a good question. It's different. As cool as stars. Oh, that's a good one.
Because I think you had to meet like some of your Morehouse man, right? Like he's always there at the Knicks game, right? Like,
I got in trouble meeting Spike or talking. I baited him. I could tell that quickly, but and I think during the same thing it was a great activation actually at MSG. There was a Coca-Cola activation. So what we did was after they call out all the players. And before the players, they announce all the players, and the players come on the court. There's like 45 seconds between that and then the game starting. So what we would do is the lights would come back on. We would walk down the front of the row, with the celebrity row, and pass out Coca-Colas. And the idea was you give them Coca-Colas, you have them drinking Coca-Colas, and that like helps the brand. And they were a celebrity, da 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 da. So doing that one time, I saw Spike and. I mean, I said Morehouse to him. I baited him. Don't get me wrong. I did. And he stood up. He's like, oh, what's up, man? And he's like, kind of have a conversation with me. And the manager around at the time that was managing that process was like, you got to keep going. You got to go. And then kind of, I don't want to say wrote me up, but had a conversation with me thereafter about it. But I'm like, he went to Morehouse. Like he's going to engage another person that went to Morehouse. And
shoot your shot, man.
I baited him. But if we weren't off the court, then it's like, there's just things that have to happen with broadcast and things like that. So I get it. But I mean, so during that celebrity row, it was a cool experience. And the one time doing that, I met a lot of people. So during that, there was Ben Stiller, who was also like in the row during that time. There was Carly Kloss, who was in the row. There was Taylor Swift. I have pictures of all of these, like, which is like crazy. But I'm like passing them. Taylor Swift's looking at me. It's like, Hey,
really quick, since you said Taylor T-Swizzle, what do you feel about her effect on the NFL? Do you believe that she's had a major effect with her romantic engagement with Mr. Kelsey?
No question. Okay. It's huge, the effect that she's had. I think it's generated more interest. And I think it's doing the NFL well. So and she's just as big of a star as ever. So her being there, people wanting to see her, even if people are just looking at it online or social media, it's like Taylor Swift, NFL, and that collaboration together, like arguably two of the biggest brands out there. I think it's had a positive effect. Now, hopefully, for NFL's sake, her sake, hopefully the relationship goes well. But if not, then we'll see how that all shakes out then. But yeah, I mean, I think it's doing well for the NFL for sure. They're going to capitalize on publicity however they can.
Talk to us a little bit about fan experience. There's a lot of factors that go into a fan's experience of any team. So from your experience, talk to us about that process of identifying and I guess improving the experience.
When you get in your car or once you leave your house, however you're coming to the stadium, arena, whatever, and get in your car, or once you then leave the arena and get on the transportation method to go home, that would consider your fan experience. And so it's every touch point from there. Now, the control of the team doesn't fully extend outside. Like, we can't control your car. We can't control the public transportation. We don't control Uber, things like that. But there are areas we could work with city government as far as police, traffic, things like that, and like plans to cars to get in and parking structures and things. But from the start of it is, did you know that you can, most of the stadium, I think pretty much all now, you have to have a digital ticket. Did you know you can download your ticket beforehand? Did you know that there's an app? If you didn't know, did you get our know before you go email, right? And like, how do we make sure you get this know before you go email? Did you read it? Did you open it? Like, what is the right information in it? Did you only look at the first, line of the email and like, did it have the pertinent information? Did you know that you have to have a clear bag to come, right? Like, all the information that goes into that are things that you need to figure out, like how to get to the people and for them to open it. Then when they get to the stadium and parking, how's their parking experience? And there are parts that you need to be involved with that. They're walking over, how far do they have to walk? Like, and then they get there. Now, what is their security experience like? Are people walking around with guns? Like, does that make you feel safe or not safe? Like, I don't know. It's a coin toss depending on who you ask. And then going through security, how long did it take? What was it like when you got in the stadium? Did your Wi-Fi work? Did you know wayfinding, how to find restrooms or concessions or your seat? Entertainment, what was the game entertainment like? How was food and beverage? How was cleanliness? All of these things, and then everything on egress are like touch points. And so in the NFL, they have what's called a Voice of the Fans survey. And in this survey, they benchmark the information. The same questions are asked. How was your arrival experience, departure experience? How was your feeling about security? All of these things, ride share, it's a ton of questions. This survey is like 30 minutes long. And surprisingly, a lot of people take the survey. They take the answers, and whatever scores you get, they are benchmarked to every team in the NFL. And you are then able to, the NFL will show where you sit in every category. And so you look at some of the data that comes in from food and beverage, right? And like, you then like, okay, the line was long here, this food was cold, or this or that, whatever it is, right? You look at it and then try to find ways that you could help improve it. And so some of the things are small, like someone one time said, not small, but they are easily fixable, right? So one time a fan came and they said, I've been here for the last few events, and in the club, like the third stall from the left in the women's restroom, the lock isn't there. And it's like, okay, is that true? So we sent some of our coworkers to look, and it's not. Let's tell building operations to fix it. Cool, they fix it, done, easy. And that's a pain point, right? If a woman goes to the restroom and can't lock the door, like, that's not good for the experience. It's not going to tank your overall experience, but you want to find those areas that you could improve and increase like different touch points, right? So that's one. But another one that was, when I was at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, was on our big wayfinding signs, there were no restrooms. So people would walk around, and if you come into the building, the number one thing you're probably going to look for is your seat. Cool. After that, the next thing that everyone in your stadium, you're at least going to go to the restroom probably once. You're going to look where the restroom's at. So you're looking around and you have no idea. And so that was like a problem. Like, how does there no wayfinding on these big signs for restrooms? So when I was there, one of the things we did was we changed all the wayfinding in the entire area to include restrooms, like not just men and women, but we wanted to be inclusive as well. So we included our family restrooms, which are for families, gender neutral individuals. We included a sensory room, like where the sensory rooms were, and as well as mother's rooms that, needed to nurse and things like that. So that's a much larger project and undertaking. So everything from fixing a lock, which is simple, to like, hey, let's change our whole wayfinding in a stadium, things like that is a touch point. And so that's what the overall fan experience is about.
Yeah, I laugh because from my brief experience, I just know that's a lot of communication. You just named about 70 people's jobs in this, in your answer. So I don't know. I not really a question, just like salute to you, because there's a lot of departments in something as to your point, as simple as, not as simple, but maybe as fixable as a stall. third stall in the women's restroom. So salute to you.
A lot of buy-in is required. Indeed. I'll just leave it at that.
For sure.
I love it. MH, you ready with those quick hits?
Yes, sir. Let me get back to my notes here. I'm sorry, CJ. Just a couple of just yes or no type questions for our listeners to get to know more about you. Text or call?
Call.
Pancakes, waffle.
Pancakes.
Apple, Android.
Apple.
I didn't like the way you said that. And I'm
Come on, DJ. Come on.
I'm just saying.
We've had this conversation.
I know we have because we've been in a couple text group chats.
Yeah.
You can't even see the right. He messed up the whole group chat. I get it.
Yep.
The whole group chat messed up, contaminated. Early bird gets the worm or late night grind.
Early bird gets the worm.
Breakfast, dinner.
Breakfast.
Kevin Hart, Cat Williams.
Kevin Hart.
Bron Jordan.
Oh. LeBron.
Hero.
I got a reason, but yeah, LeBron.
Hey, I want to see the reason. Let's take a quick pause there. What's the reason there?
LeBron had to do it in the social media age and coming after Jordan. I just thinking the sequel is always harder to please the audience than the original. And so he's not like a Jordan heir, but he was like looked at as highly, to be like Jordan, and he's lived up to that. And so I probably have to go LeBron.
Drop one of Clues bombs on that.
Huh?
Drop one of Clues bombs on that.
Honestly, that was the best explanation I've heard. I don't know if I agree, but it's the best explanation I've heard. Heroes or villain?
Heroes.
Play it safe and go into overtime, or risk it and win in regulation?
Play it safe, going to overtime.
One track that never gets old.
Juicy, Biggie.
Loving basketball or the wood?
The wood.
That's it. Yes, sir.
Angel went off on that.
I know Angel did go off. I saw that. Not the wood is the wood. The wood is more like you and the homies. You know what I mean? Like that was like the upbringing. It feels more like home than loving basketball was never like. I mean, I played basketball, but I didn't have a woman that played basketball. But the wood is like a black man's upbringing. In high school for sure.
Love it.
All right. I don't know if I was going to say this to the end, but do y'all want to put a little wager on the game? I mean, Thursday Night Football, when we're releasing this, you guys playing, does either one feel more confident? Or is there not even need to do that?
No betting.
Just knows it's
friendly.
Here's the thing. I think, truthfully, I'm fine with the Giants just, being bad for a couple years. I'll sell the Giants being bad for a couple years to give me a Knicks ring. Like it just, I've seen it. I've seen the Giants win Super Bowls. I'm cool. I'm cool on the Giants. Like the Yankees. Hopefully they win tonight and they'll clinch. Their division, and then I'll just be riding baseball until they're done, and then the Knicks will be back. So football to me is I'm still watching, but I'm good. I'm good. The Giants. I don't have faith. We haven't beat the Cowboys. I feel like it's so long. Like I don't have any faith in it.
It's been a while. I mean, I call it scouting. You just getting ready. We just getting ready for the draft. I get it.
I'm cool with that. I'm completely fine with that.
I love it. All right, man. Well, let's jump into the winner's circle, man. This is kind of where we give a platform to all the people that come on. And when we talked and did our pre-show work, you have an amazing kind of business that you're rolling out, man, which is we love the entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like whether it's athletes that come out and, take it from their on the field to what they do in the next stage. And then all the history that you've had. And, we don't have enough time to walk through all in depths of the things you've done in these mini leagues. But, you started your company, Givin Game, and just kind of give us, a brief, what made you want to start that company?
I've just seen a lot of throughout just my time in sports that people just need help and they need information to figure out how to navigate sports or even what is out there in sports. As assuming all of us, grew up loving sports, either playing sports, and it got to a point of, hey, you're not going to make it, find something else that you want to do. And it was never the conversation of, hey, you love sports. Do you know that you could also work in sports because you're not going to make it? That just wasn't a conversation. And I still don't feel like it is a conversation today. And so from there, it took me a while to navigate and figure out sports. I went to Morehouse, worked a number of different jobs, and then got laid off from a job that I didn't enjoy, but it felt like the right situation, like a job that I didn't enjoy. I got laid off. It was like dating someone that you don't like and they dump you. It just felt like that, just wrong. But it also was like that was one of those other moments prior to like Red Shirt Challenge that I feel like I had to look inside internally and figure it out. And then it was like, okay, I want to do sports, but what do I do? How do I navigate? Who do I talk to? I had no idea. So I had to figure things out and navigate it on my own somewhat. And then eventually I found mentors and such throughout the way. But and going through and getting to a place where I had to actually hire people, I saw a lot of people apply and just like, I just want to work with this team or that team because I love the team and da 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 da. And it's like, I get you love the team. I have teams I love and such, as we talked about earlier, but my resume says that I deserve to be here and in this position and this and that. And other people didn't have that. So that's one of seeing people that didn't have the right information. I've seen other people who were in situations that were able to have the right information in college and just didn't have the right mentorship or help because their school was not helping them. I told a gentleman one time, hey, take your resume back to your guidance counselor, things like that, and come back to me. And it came back and it was still not up to par. And so I felt bad about it that I helped this individual work on their resume. We sent like over 100 emails back, forth, but I saw that this person was committed, wanted to improve. And so I decided to do that and spend my time to help him. And then from there, he's gone on and flourished. And so just seeing these different things that are pain points for people or things that just don't have as far as understanding are just things that I took along the way of like, all right, this is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. And then just throughout my career of seeing mistakes that people might have, how do they network, not knowing how to network, things like that. And so all of that to say, the last thing was like, I was president of Black Sports Professionals, the DC chapter and the Atlanta chapter. And so part of that was bringing people of color together to be able to network, highlighting our members and their careers, and also offering solutions and highlighting to the next generation on these careers in sports. And so stepping into that lane of being a president for 2 chapters, I just love the work. I love the work of doing it. I love the work of helping people. And I see there is a void out there that people still really need help. There are organizations that do help, but I think there's more that's needed. And the more that we could get people that are qualified, especially people of color, into these positions, that's the start of getting people that are qualified to these higher positions. But the pool has to start at the bottom. And I want to be able to a person that helps people navigate and get these solutions to figure out that, one, there are careers in sports. Okay, now I know that there's careers in this and that. 2, I'm interested in X career, right? Like you don't just say, hey, I want to play football. It's like, okay, like, well, what position you want to play? Like a quarterback is different than a lineman and different than a cornerback or like a linebacker, right? Like different body types, different. You need to know, like knowledge needs to be different. It's overall just all different. And so same thing with going into sports. Like, what are you interested in? Okay, now I know I want to do record sports. Now I'm interested in this. Now, how do I go about doing that? And so offering those solutions and tools are like really what I want to do. And because I see there's a void in this space and I want to be a person that's, helping to fill that void.
Talk a little bit about that, because I think that's so true. What we were talking about earlier about how many jobs you listed just from a fan experience, the process of identifying, like, yes, this is what I want to get into in sports, because quite frankly, sometimes we don't even know what exists as a job. So what's the process in identifying this is what it is I want to do?
I think it's two parts. Like, what are you good at and what are you interested in, right? Like, hey, someone might be like, hey, I love drawing. I love, design. It's like, oh, okay, there's a lot, even in partnerships, there's people that design decks that, sit on the partnership side. But then you could just work in marketing, working in like designing what's going on social media. You can work in live events and putting what goes on the big boards, things like that. Like, there are different areas when what your skills are and what like you feel like you would do best in. Additionally, it is what is information that is out there that someone may not know exists that they could then say, oh, that's what I want to do. So for me, like, I wanted to do sponsorship, but I didn't know the name for it. I'm like, it's some marketing, it's like brands involved, but like, and not until I was in grad school was when we had a gentleman come, Dave DeCina, who used to work at MSG, and he came and he was a sponsorship guy. He was like, hey, I work in sponsorship. And I was like, oh, he's like, this was sponsorship. I'm like, that's it. So I like wrote it down, sponsorship. So now I knew, but from hearing it from someone else, but then it's like, there's another step. Do you want to do sales or activation? I don't know what that is. What does activation mean? And so he broke down and explained like what activation is. And I'm like, all right, I'm not really a seller. I think activation is what I want to do. And then he also mentioned there was this strategy side of things. And I'm like, what's that about? I never heard of that. And so as you continue to dive down the funnel, there's more things you might discover, more things you could look up and find people and such. But things like your podcast, right? Like, this podcast is great because you're offering people like myself and others the opportunity to come on here and let you know their backgrounds, things like that. So putting that more to the forefront, I think, is important. I want to continue to do the same for others, putting their information in the forefront. Like, I mean, truthfully, it's a shame that there are so many people that are out here that are dope individuals that other people don't know. People don't know EJ like that. Like, people know EJ like that, but I'm saying like people that are not in sports don't know EJ. And that's a shame. And like, because of who this guy is and what he's done in sports and what he's still doing, his story needs to be told, right? Like, and there's many people like that are out there. We're in a group, that has ton of great people with great stories. And so how do I help tell those stories, but tell the stories of their background and how they got to where they got to use that as the other side of letting people know about careers, is like highlighting these people. And so people can see themselves in EJ and others. It's like, oh, he did this, like I could do this as well. And that's really what I want to do.
Thanks for those kind words, man. I mean, that's really MH&I's really genesis of this show, right? It's just to show that there's more than being on the field and being in just, just in marketing, right? The many levels of what you could do, supporting, being in, and all the things it takes for an organization. So, CJ, thank you for that. Now, one of the things you do is you'll be offering, right, your time to and there's different services. But one I want to get out there, and you can kind of touch on some of your other services. How can someone be prepared when they do sign up to get time with you, right? Because that's one of the things I think we find challenging is we only have a finite amount of time, And then how can people come to you, and then how should they be ready to have a one-on-one time with you?
Yeah, they could come to me through my website, CJ's Givin game, GIVIN game, GAME.com. So yeah, he has the handles there. Through my Instagram, but through the website as well is where you can sign up, and I have my consultations there. I also offer initial free consultations to understand if it's a good thing for us to work together, if I could help you, if I'm the person to help you, and so that's usually the start of it. And then but how should you come to me is a great question. Is I think just prepared on what you want to know. Like, I usually start, and I'm a very much of a people person. I like to, chop it up. How was your day? How's this? And da 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 da. But like when I'm on the consultations, it's like, hey, how are you? All right, like how could I help you? Like, what do you want to know? So like having notes and being prepared on, hey, I'm interested in knowing about this. I'm actually applying for this job here. And how do I go about like making sure I follow up correctly? How do I how do I figure out what jobs I should be looking at? Where are the job boards at? Like having questions prepared and ready, I think are important. Having information on me is important. Like, not like, hey, CJ, like, what did you do to get in sports? It's like, I mean, my LinkedIn is out there. My website has all this information. Like, there's a lot of information that's out there about me. I'm not saying you need to know, like, you guys did great homework about my brother and sister, and like I run marathons, but like knowing that I worked for the Yankees, it's out there. Like, it's not hidden. And I worked in sponsorship. That's out there. So
watch my Black in Sports episode.
Watch the Black in Sports episode. 100% true. 100, and there, videos and such. It's important. So coming with that is information and homework about me, number one, questions, number two, but also the professionalism, right? Like showing up on time is important because, you don't want to waste my time. These sessions cost money, but you don't want to waste your time either or your money. And so showing up on time is important. And being prepared is important. And so doing the research beforehand, I think, is something that needs to happen.
How'd you come up with the name of the company?
My man TJ. My man TJ. He I had a number of names. I couldn't settle on any. And just through different conversations and with people, my man TJ was like, I'm gonna give you something. You should call it Giving Game. And I'm like, oh, I like that. And it just felt right. And like short and sweet, but right. And also like the idea of game and talking about sports. You even just it's not giving, it's given, and like sort of like a slang of it. Like I'm giving you game, like it's offering the solutions, offering help, tips, all of those things I think are important. And there's many multifaceted ways it could be utilized. So he said it, gave me the name, and I was like, I'm going to run with it from there. So shout out to TJ. It truthfully, it was another manifestation. I was telling him, I just can't settle on a name. I can't. And he's like, I got it for you. And he's like, take that. So, my man TJ. So he definitely looked out.
Love it. All right, man. Well, we're going to go fall back on your point guard skills. And this is the part of the show we could like to call the assist. All right. So this is where what you're going to be doing on your platform in the game. But you give a coaching gem, right? So maybe a quote that you live by, or words of wisdom, or something you would tell your younger self. So if you could just leave us with a quick quote or words of wisdom.
Yeah, I think one of my favorites is Jackie Robinson quote, and I live by it. And I think it also comes to Giving Game. And, one of his most famous quotes are, life's unimportant except in its impact on the lives of others. And, like I think there are areas that I've had that are successful and I've done certain things, but I've never been taught or even just in action, just rising without trying to bring others with me. Or rising without offering help, or rising without offering solutions. Like I'm always the person that wants to wrap my arms around everyone and be that type of friend, but also now be that type of person that is offering solutions to people, because I want to see us win. I want to see us succeed. And I want to see sports do well, right? Like, it's just not Black people as well, but just there are people that just really need the help. And I want to be a person that has that impact on others and see them rise. So like even on my page where I have my testimonials, like those are some of the people that are close to me. TJ, who I mentioned earlier, is one of the testimonials on there as well. But there are others, that really I feel just happy to where they are today, and just the information that I was able to give to them to help navigate their careers. And people that have done it to me, I want to make sure that I'm having an impact on others' lives and leaving an impact in the world of sports.
Love that. Love that. MH, final thoughts.
I love it, man. I was talking to my pops recently, and there's a acronym for it, and I can't repeat it. It's not inappropriate or anything, but I'm just not going to repeat it here. But he was saying information is power, and I love that you're giving power to the people by providing information. So salute to you in your career and giving back, and really really appreciate your time for real, man. Thank you.
No, thank you both, man. I really appreciate this. This was fun.
Good, man. Thank you so much. And I do have to give a little personal shout out. I usually don't do this, but a little nephew, Rev, we call him Big Sexy, is going through surgery. And you know how that is when you're going through that high school and playing sports. So he's having a major surgery, man. And, I just want to tell him, surgery's over. So now it's time to fight the good comeback, man. So that's not your whole story, man. Just keep fighting and go for your dreams, man. He's a hell of a baseball player. So I'm looking forward to seeing him fight through that and get well. And CJ, man, we just want to thank you for jumping on and giving your time, man. We know it's a little later where you are right now, but thanks for giving us game. And we're excited to see what you have going on. We're going to put all of that information of how people can get more info to you in the show notes. But we're just going to be supporting you, and I'm going to be signing up for another one-on-one consultation pretty soon. So, I'm not Hair Club Commitment. I'm not only the sponsor, but I also go. But hey, if you enjoyed the show, please, we drop a new show every Thursday. Please share the show because that's how more people know about what's going on, and it could help someone else in their career. Always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel because visual representation matters. If you see it, you can be it. And we're everywhere you listen to podcasts. So Apple, Spotify, and then we're on Google. Android has its own app to listen to it since we have so much Android hate going on. But no, all in all, man, you know what the saying is, man. Please be safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap.